I'm going to read from my novel, The Plagiarists. And just to give you a brief bit of context, your very unreliable narrator is a guy named Jake Bovary, and he's a science fiction writer. He's sort of like Daniel Steele of science fiction. You know, he's prolific, he's sort of a guilty pleasure. He's also a widower. His son is named Finn. His ex-wife, who died a little while ago, her name is Kate. So, son Finn, dead ex-wife Kate. It's a happy story. And the novel that he was working on, just before the book begins, it's his breakout literary novel. He wants to write a literary novel. It's called Viral Messiah. But unfortunately, it's gone missing. There was a Los Angeles mudslide, and away went his house and his book, and it's all very upsetting. So he had to go up north, where his son's living in the wife's house in the Bay Area, and he's trying to recreate his novel. Okay, that's it. Kate's work deserves to outlive its creator. She tried so hard to finish it in secret. Shit, I should start again. Kate, by the way, was working on a book before she died.
Can people hear?
Yes.
Yeah?
All right.
Okay. Kate's work deserves to outlive its creator. She tried so hard to finish it in secret, determined to complete it, or never publish the thing. She wouldn't name the book until it was finished. Bad mojo, she said one night. She was sitting in the living room downstairs, and she looked frail and hollow. Her skin by then was a paper lantern lit poorly from inside. It's cynical, she said, when books appear after an author dies. Barely edited. A book like that is a stillborn baby. What do? They make their money off the freak show set out on the bookstore's display table. Some good chapters, maybe. Not a real book. And then, the next night, my novel can't be a literary pity party, she said. Don't let them publish the book if it's not done. It was her ambition I loved most, even when we were tearing each other apart in divorce court. There was always a part of me drawn to her willfulness. Neither of us gave much ground, but I came to respect that toughness. It's how we became civil and then close while Finn was in high school. She wrote one of her best books while we were breaking up. Kate was the toughest person I'd ever known, but she was also fragile and angry in particular ways people didn't often get to see. So when she told me the cancer had returned, I left my girlfriend and my screenplay to live with my ex-wife for one last year. It turned out to be less time than that, but far more months than the oncologist predicted. When she died, I turned off her computer and walked away. Her book might have made Finn some money, I suppose, but I respected Kate's wish to not let her death and her book get fetishized in the way we both found troubling. Until tonight, it's never occurred to me there was another option. I start to edit, and from the first altered paragraph, I feel certain this is what collaboration feels like. A week later, I've reworked the beginning entirely and cut entire sections away. I'll get to my own book soon, but it's exciting. I can see her thread so much more clearly. Kate's pages and mine are scattered across the office. Finn and I pass each other in the hallways and drink beer quietly on the porch at night. He's smoking a pack every few days as he crams for his chem finals, and I wonder if nicotine addiction can be passed down from father to son. Finn's girlfriend comes over one afternoon and asks how Viral Messiah is shaping up. I tell her I've got a new idea. A week after that, I've written 50 pages of new material, most of it guiding the reader toward an ending. I dream one night that Kate is down the hallway, offering me a notebook filled with the answers, but she won't let me read it until I sleep with her. She climbs into my bed, and I start to choke on her red hair. It fills my mouth, and I wake up snarled in the sheets. I'm convinced that the bed and the room smell like dirt and cannabis. I write 11 new pages and start sleeping in the chair. A week after that, I get a call from Rachel, my girlfriend in Los Angeles. When are you coming home, she asks. By home, she doesn't mean her house, which is inhabited by Isaac, her husband, the entertainment lawyer, and their 2 young boys. It's the middle of the afternoon when she calls, and I've hit a good writing stride with some new pages after staring at the screen for an hour. I'm getting a lot of work done up here, I say. I consider a block of Kate's notes regarding this part of the chapter. She's let the main character off too easily here. I said I miss you, says Rachel. I'm almost ready to leave Isaac. I think the boys are old enough to handle it. What do you think? She's been almost leaving Isaac for years. I try to conjure up the mental sequences of our affair. The night we were introduced on the studio lot, on the deck at my house, up against her husband's desk half an hour before the family comes home from soccer practice. Those once reliable enticements seem very distant. I shift gears from my libido to the heart and try to remember the last time she asked me about my son, or the last conversation that mattered to either of us, beyond something post-coital, bitter complaining about work and relationships. An affair, I'm starting to understand, is a dirt-smeared window. Sometimes you're happy that you can't be seen by the outside world, but when light does get through, everything inside looks shabby. Rachel, I've got to go. They got me on a pretty tight deadline. Let me know how it works out. And when I end the call, I'm surprised to feel something like relief. 2 days later, I receive a note from my agent. The publishers want a manuscript as soon as possible. I find myself in the darkened study on a warm spring day, light coming through the blinds, thinking about Raymond Carver's editor. How much of those stories did Gordon Lish repurpose out of the brilliant mess that Carver made? Sculpting, cutting, drafting, tightening, altering emphasis, bullying the characters into a darker and more spare sequence. How can we call those stories Carver's alone? And Elizabethan playwrights? Didn't they build from the histories and older plays and amend one another's work until finally the final product belonged to the theatrical troupe? And films. Every film we see, despite our notions of auteur theory, they're a collaborative craft between writers and directors and producers and actors. I keep writing and cutting. The computer overheats from being perpetually on, and I start to edit longhand to let the hard drive cool. I give Finn money that afternoon to buy us each a pack of cigarettes, and he grins. "Well, the ex-smoker wants back in," he asks. "You raised me better than to be an enabler." He makes a show of holding the $10 bill up to the light, then hands it back to me. "Can't do it, Dad." "I raised you not to be a jackass, kiddo. I'm under a serious time constraint here." He leans against the bookshelf and looks at the piles of paper everywhere. "Okay, listen, I'll do this, but I'm going to take the smokes away if you abuse them." Despite myself, I laugh. "They are a gateway drug," I say. "Here's 20. Here's a 20. Get us a carton." First of many bad decisions. Finn ruffles my hair like a scoundrel uncle and heads downstairs. When he returns, we head for the porch. He sparks the lighter into life, and I cup his hands to keep it lit. I take my first drag and shiver when the smoke hits the back of my lungs. We sit there on the steps in the late afternoon and watch the fog slowly roll toward us from the bay. "Dad," he says, "I'm going to talk with you." I nod. "About your mom?" "No." He brings his knees up under his elbows. "Something else." I feel lightheaded, the classic response from after having not smoked for years. After a second drag, I already regret having bought the cigarettes. Why is the new book called Viral Messiah? My son's legs, I notice, are longer than mine. That's a different book. I set that project aside to finish something else. "Oh yeah?" he asks. "I think Kate would have liked it." "Right." He scrapes off the lit edge of his cigarette. "It's my girlfriend helping you for information." I shake my head, give my best impression of innocence, and we leave it at that. We start a ritual of coffee and cigarettes at dusk on the porch each night. The gray neighborhood cat, a vocal complainer, keeps us company. She climbs down the wisteria vine that Kate planted as a child and begs for food until finally she curls up. I drop the pretense of asking Finn about his classes, and he stops asking me about the book, since I don't know how to talk about it. Neither of us talk about Kate. We sit and think, and then we go back underwater. I get other notes in my inbox about the bank from the mortgage on my demolished house, from the city notifying me they've sent in bulldozers, from friends in Los Angeles now officially worried that I've disappeared. Just before my deadline, at 1:45 a.m. on a Monday, I send the publisher the edited and revised manuscript. They call me midday, and I let the calls go to voicemail, and I sleep for the first time in days. And they love it. The book, my agent keeps saying, is golden. I send them the title page last. The Plagiarists, it reads, a novel by Jake Gilvery. Thanks.